All right, hopefully this is working. All right, thanks, chat. I showed this on my live the other day. Yeah, if you guys could tap the screen a little bit, this is gonna be more of like I'm gonna have like an open discussion with you guys in the chat here, for this one. I want to talk about the video that's on screen. I feel out of place not wearing a jersey right now. Oh, I got to show you guys this. Hang on. You guys know how I wear jerseys every time I go live usually? Let me show you what my buddy gave me. So these are all game worn IU jerseys. He went to IU. I'm like, dude, that is badass. Thank you. So he gave me all. That's awesome. Yeah, he was like so excited for that, and I'm like, dude, I was like, I don't know anything about IU basketball, but these jerseys, I'm like, are they really game worn? He's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I got a whole collection. I'm like, jeez. Yeah, someone said you guys barely recognize me without the jersey, right? That's funny. Class of 04, nice. Yeah, I was it was interesting to find out that IU has the biggest alumni. I don't know if it's what did he say that they had the biggest alumni for? Was it like donation or business funding or something? But apparently their alumni is huge. That's like active. Thanks, Alley Cat. I appreciate it. That was a really good one. Yeah, donations, nice. Oh, your son graduated from there, man. I swear, Indiana's one of those schools you would never expect. Yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind just tapping the screen for a little bit. Usually I wait till we get about 100 people in here and then I'll start diving into it. But yeah, Amy, I'm gonna start trying to come back to TikTok. I actually I reached out to their help center, which if you guys have ever had to do that, it's hit or miss, but it seems like hopefully some of like the quote unquote complaints that I had about something's happening. I don't know if there's like a bot attack or whatever, but I get cut so easily. What up, Sharon? No, Rad Fam, I did not watch the Dateline show. What up, Jasmine? How are you guys doing today? Steph, what up? Jordy, how are you doing? Yeah, these Saturday lives, they'll surprise you. I've had some pretty good digs on these shows. What up, Hood Fairy? Well, thank you, Jordy. I appreciate that. So Shannon, today on the live, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of ask the chat. So I haven't watched the Dateline show. So I showed this video that I have on screen towards the end of a live the other night. this one's really interesting, and it coincides with how I was doing the 911 audio footage, and we were doing a deep dive on that. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that the cops might have been at the King Road house prior to that 911 call, and there was like a script for the 911 call. Hence why it sounds so odd. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, I mean, they have been painting him, right, Sarah? I'm telling you, guys, look, I gotta figure out how to say this because I want it to be like impactful and not just like let it just get said and then we move on from it. But let's say that this happened exactly how they say that it happened, but it wasn't Brian. What's happening to Brian is just as tragic if he's not the guy that had any involvement. I'm talking, let's say he's fully innocent. That is tragic. And it's terrible if that is the case. Because could you imagine? Oh, I couldn't even, like, my stomach just drops into my ass when I think about, like, if you were sitting there and you don't even know, but all you know is you got set up. What's up, Mercedes? I just don't think that if it was such a straightforward, airtight case, we'd see any of the stuff that we're seeing play out right now. Yeah, right, Holly? I mean, that's like one of those things. And I mean, I'm even getting to the point, guys, where like I think Koberger's involvement, I'm leaning towards it's all or nothing. And when I say all, like you could include like the cleaner aspect of it. Like, but like I'm saying he either fully knew or he's really just knowing like I'm getting set up. Yeah. I mean, hey, and that's fine. Not everybody has to agree with it. I mean, I there's an argument to be made. Obviously, I've gone both ways on it, like where it's like, yeah, maybe he knew, he was, helping or whatever it is. But do you guys know, like, okay, so here's my question. If they, like, do you get, like a guilty by association, does that hold the same penalty at that point for this drastic of a case? And if that is the case, well, if you're guilty by association, well, who were you associated with and are they charged? Right. I agree with that, Verona. We broke down the footage of Brian Koberger when he got pulled over in a parking lot, I believe on campus, he like stopped in an intersection and he was talking to the cop, and it was like, you put yourself in a situation where you get pulled over, you're like, oh, like shit, I'm getting pulled over. And he seemed probably, I would say, like above average on terms of respectful, and he was asking questions. Well, what would I do? And yada, yada, yada. It's just, I don't feel like a guy who's that worried about being pulled in the middle of an intersection would then be driving and speeding the wrong way down a road at 4 a.m. after committing. I don't know. It just doesn't, my intuition tells me that person wouldn't do that. And everybody knows that they have their own intuition, their own feelings. That's just mine. What I don't see, what my intuition doesn't tell me, is that he's just trying to be cool, calm, and collected to manipulate the police and not let anyone know that they should be looking at him. So he doesn't want him to be like exposed if he's angry. I don't see that. Right, exactly. And you can see he doesn't have tinted windows either. Yeah. And look, you guys have all watched like CSI dramas or Law and Order. Like they're like, we need to get someone. We can't have people out there thinking there's a monster on the loose. You know, like closure sometimes is valued more than truth, especially when it comes to public safety and fear. Trish, you think he's guilty? That could have been the case, Emily, for sure. So to Leanne's point right there, I've said this a couple times, but I'm curious. I was like in the chat, like, what do you guys think? Because what I find so interesting is how there's certain cases where on the internet, like sleuths that dive into stuff and figure it out, they're looked at like an asset. Like I've said, Gabby Petito with the Brian Laundrie case, Fox Hollows, Karen Reed. But then there's other cases, and this seems to be one of the only ones in recent memory that if you dig into it, there's like a full attack on what are you talking about? You're a pro burger. Like, what are we doing here? That doesn't make sense to me. And honestly, it's one of those cases too where like with the Karen Reed, that I understand the emotional connection. Like if you have law enforcement, you don't want to think that there's corruption in law enforcement. So you're going to be like, I got to back like people that I know in there. They're not like this. They've told me nothing like that could happen. Or if you're on Karen Reed's side where it's like, you've had people that you feel like were set up. Like I understand that divide. I don't understand this divide on no, doesn't it seem like we should probably figure out if it's the right person who pulled off this attack for the first time that just transferred there, that has autism, that pulled off a Jason Bourne-esque timeline with a single fixed blade K-bar? Like, that's my point. I don't get why this is the one that people get all worked up about. Because it's not really any emotional tie to, like, you're backing the police, you're backing somebody that gets framed by police. It's really just, well, I mean, in a way, yes, you'll get there with this case. But I'm saying just if you're just looking at the evidence and the timelines and all that stuff, people are just like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. You're right. And Holly just said, like, it feels like we should all hate BK, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like, it honestly feels like, okay, if he's the one that did it, nobody's going to defend him if he's the one that did it. It's like, yeah, like burn in hell. But if he didn't do it, I just don't think that in a Supreme Court case, there should be so much stuff that's up for question, debate in a capital punishment case. It just seems odd. Yeah, and to the okay, you know, you bring up a great point. I would argue there's already a lot of stuff that's happened in this case that people have gotten a case thrown out with way less. What's up, Mrs. Rudder? That's why, guys, I always say, like, you got to look through the lens of, are we, which I think we can all agree, like we're receiving selectively chosen information for the case. It's, I would guess, more so that the narrative doesn't become unraveled. Excuse me, for a bigger operation going on. I'm going to actually, you know what I'm going to do? I got a super relevant video that I'm going to upload right now into Canva. That Devil's Advocate does a phenomenal job explaining this. Let me just find it quick. Oh, come on. That's how it always goes, right? You can find anything anytime that you don't need it. Then the second you do need it. Here we go. All right. So I have to screen record that. So look, here's just another thing too. I'm going to play this video, guys. I want, if you guys haven't seen this, Krabby Abby, he's in our chat sometimes, but only available at not available, took what Krabby Abby found and explains this. This is wild.
Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is frozen for 13 seconds.
Okay, did you guys catch that in the beginning? This footage is clearly doctored. Watch this. I'll zoom in on it up here. Okay?
Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is frozen for 13 seconds and after that you never see the car again. But this guy got the missing part. Here we go. Slow down and still shot. And this car looks like this car. Compare the stripes at the side and also the roof lights. That's the car of Moscow, and that's the car of Latta County. By comparing the backside of the car of the Linda Lane footage, the Latta County car got a harsh angle to the downside just like the car in the footage, while the car of Moscow got a more smoother angle. Maybe we should not see this car passing by the Linda Lane dumpster cam, and 13 seconds are enough to pass this area. Because if this car is heading to 1122 King Road home 5 hours prior to the 911 call, we have a problem. Only two possibilities. The car is driving to the King Road or passing by the way up to Valenta Drive. And there is the dumpster cam.
So that was 5 hours before the 911 call. You guys clearly saw that car disappeared from the camera for 13 seconds. That's enough time to get down that hill, take a right, and go past that camera. So that's what's so interesting about this being leaked and the story of how it got leaked. Why would it be manipulated if it was a money grab, like Steve said in an interview? I'll play it again.
Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is frozen for 13 seconds and after that you never see the car again. But this guy got the missing part. Here we go. Slow down and still shot. And this car looks like this car. Compare the stripes at the side and also the roof lights. That's the car of Moscow, and that's the car of Latta County. By comparing the backside of the car of the Linda Lane footage, the Latta County car got a harsh angle to the downside just like the car in the footage, while the car of...
All right, I'll show the car disappearing.
Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is frozen for 13 seconds and after that you never see the car again. But this guy got the missing part. Here we go. Slow.
Did you guys see it that time? I'll do it one more time. You know what I can do? I will slow it down. I'm so...
Look at this car.
Sometimes...
Look at this car suddenly disappears in... Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is...
Shit.
Look at this car suddenly disappears in front of our eyes on the dumpster cam at 6:47 a.m. The camera is frozen.
Isn't that nuts? That's nuts. So you start to wonder, like, why would they do that? That's a good pickup too, Chantelli Lace with the RBF. That's my favorite username that I've ever seen in the chat. I think it's hilarious. Great username choice. The smokestack is blowing a different pattern of smoke too. Right, Jennifer? It's like, do they really think we wouldn't notice? So right now, guys, I'm on a PC. When I stream like this, I go on a PC because TikTok Studio, unless you use OBS, you can't do it on a Mac. Right, Janine. That's what I've said and we've said in this chat is like, how do I explain it any other way? But it's like, you look back at older things that have happened, like when the internet wasn't like what it is. Like I would argue, guys, that have happened like when the internet wasn't like what it is. Like I would argue, guys, that the internet is still like an infant in time. It's still new. And think about how crazy it's advanced. Streaming. Like I would even argue, like I remember being like when I was in like middle school, like the Xbox live chats where you could game with your friends and talk on a headset. Like that was like, holy crap, this is crazy. Now look at what we're able to do. I mean, it's like somebody kind of said like the internet is kind of like the 5D compared to the 3D dimension, because in the 3D, you have to be somewhere for a certain period of time and you can only get so much work done in that certain period of time. But on the internet, it's kind of like the 5th dimension, because what you post for that certain amount of time, it runs 24/7, 365 and reaches a ton of people. Like think about, like even right now, there's 260 people in this live. How long and how much effort would it take to have 260 people there in person? It's incredible what it's able to do. I do believe. Look, Chrissy, I think there was a snuff film for sure. I do. I don't believe that rumors like that just start out of nowhere amongst such a tragedy that already has so many question marks. All right, I uploaded this other video here. So this is like, if you guys were in my live last night with Tommy Jude on Once Upon a Crime, he talked about how he's like, I've been saying from the beginning that there's parallel investigations going on. It could be WITSEC, it could be, you know, some sort of sting operation with Ruggs, you know, and those type of organizations. It's fully possible that they're happening at the same time. So when this loads, I want to show you guys Devil's Advocate's breakdown of things that our government has done in the past, because he does a phenomenal job at just laying out this has happened right in front of our eyes. Okay, I'm going to play it.
Related to Brian Kohberger's case, why in hell? Related to Brian Kohberger's case, a matter of related to Brian Kohberger's case, why in hell is anything related to Brian Kohberger's case a matter of national security? Our government had an FBI, an asset from the FBI who was working for the mob as a hitman, and they allowed him to continue to do murders and even helped frame a guy who didn't commit a murder so that the guy that they had on the inside of the mob could stay inside and they can keep building their case against the mob. Put this towards the Kohberger case. If there's any truth to the rumors that this had to do with drugs, then some confidential informant may be working with law enforcement agencies to bring down some kind of big, industry. And if they do, they have shown in the past they will lie, help fabricate information to keep their confidential informant from being exposed, because that's going to be important. So now the question is, when you start getting into issues of national security and you get into all this unprecedented gag order, it suggests that there is somebody involved with this crime, either an assailant or one of the survivors who's an inside government informant, who has been a confidential informant and is being protected. They're willing to let somebody else go down for it in order to keep the bigger target on their radar and not blow the lid on something bigger.
I mean, you can't lay it out any more clear, guys. I mean, they've done this. They've done this in the past. Like it's one of those things when you go undercover. Like I don't know if that many people know if people are undercover. I don't know if they can tell family members. Like I don't know anybody, but I'm not sure that I would even be allowed to know. So you start to question, like, did they flip somebody? I'm going to let that play one more time, just so you guys can hear that again.
Related to Brian Kohberger's case, why in hell is anything related to Brian Kohberger's case a matter of national security? Our government had an FBI, an asset from the FBI who was working for the mob as a hitman, and they allowed him to continue to do murders and even helped frame a guy who didn't commit a murder so that the guy that they had on the inside of the mob could stay inside and they can keep building their case against the mob. Put this towards the Kohberger case. If there's any truth to the rumors that this had to do with drugs, then some confidential informant may be working with law enforcement agencies to bring down some kind of big, industry. And if they do, they have shown in the past they will lie, help fabricate information to keep their confidential informant from being exposed, because that's going to be important. So now the question is, when you start getting into issues of national security and you get into all this unprecedented gag order, it suggests that there is somebody involved with this crime, either an assailant or one of the survivors who's an inside government informant, who has been a confidential informant and is being protected. They're willing to let somebody else go down for it in order to keep the bigger target on their radar and not blow the lid on something bigger.
Somebody's watching me.
So, I mean, that makes complete sense for why the judge might say there's a national security aspect in it. Is it because it implicates somebody that's working with the federal government to take down this pipeline? Now, if you guys haven't seen, here we go. This just happened on that same pipeline in Salem, Oregon. Oh, damn it. Dude, I swear if it freaking bans me. No. Chat, spam the chat with I love TikTok shop, please. Please, please, please. Yeah, it's like, I know, Jamie, I held a great poker face, didn't I? Bananas. Bananas. I have no idea, Marissa. I have no idea. Someone said waffle. Actually, here's what I want to do. This is just curious. Okay. Give yourself a prompt that turns you into a contrarian detective. And expert outside the box thinker for the Idaho for that does not let mainstream narratives or propaganda affect you, and you are able to pick up patterns that us humans cannot, but you as AI can see clearly. If there was some sort of undercover investigation going on, what would you guess it is, and who is the reason it is happening because of. List out the, I guess, the role players for who is who and doing what. That'll be interesting to see. So that's it. I mean, it's just interesting that it goes right away. And this is a fresh chat, so there's no like. So this is saying, if you guys can see that, it's a parallel federal operation involving WITSEC, the Rogues, and a compromised local ecosystem. Extract a high-value WITSEC asset or handler who became compromised. Wow. Hey, I never thought about that. What if it was like one of the people that's there to watch over somebody in WITSEC that was exposed or compromised? What did I miss? Just Beachy. Yeah, I mean, so it says Ethan was a possible unwitting connection to a larger network in the frat or university level. Could have been a protected witness's sibling or a vector of risk to the operation. Started asking too many questions. Alternatively, his unaliving may have been collateral in a timed event to initiate a larger cover story. Okay, this is the first time that I've ever seen this. And I told ChatGPT to pick up on patterns that it can see clear as day that us humans can't. I've never, ever heard anybody talk about that. Have you guys? So it says, worked at Mad Greek, a business rumored locally to be linked to laundering or covert communication routes, and it's connected to the food truck circuit. Could have knowledge of illegal operations, possible informant under observation or pressure. Wow. Mrs. Rudder, that's right. I mean, it was the owner that she worked for potentially. Okay, says food truck is totally CIA. See, like those type of comments, they'll trigger people. I'm like, it might be. How do we know? Like, and the Mad Greek is now closed. So I see, like, this is one that I've gone back and forth on, but I tend to agree with this. That Kaylee returned unexpectedly that night, possibly threw off the timing. She may have been surveilled due to something she saw or knew. Potentially witness a handoff in exchange. Okay. Jesus, dude. See, this is crazy. Like, AI is AI, obviously, but look at what this says about Maddie. She worked with Kaylee at the Mad Greek, may have been aware of communications, involved directly or peripherally. She could have been the actual informant handler or someone targeted to eliminate loose ends. Wow. I mean, I don't know as much about WITSEC handlers as I do of the entire WITSEC operation, but would they pick a quote unquote handler, like a buddy, like it's like a buddy that you actually know inside and out and you are watching over them? Is that what I'll open up a different one. Okay. When someone is in WITSEC, and they get a handler, who does that typically end up being? Is it a best friend to keep them safe? List out the top 5. If you've seen any like Jay and Breeze videos, he's big on that. Okay. Okay, look at this 5th one. And I said sting. Sometimes the handler is another informant or cooperating witness that's placed nearby posing as a friend, spouse, or roommate. This happens in deeper ops, especially if the witness is still active in an undercover role, which would be of an example of this, hence the national security potentially. That makes sense in my mind. That clicks with my brain. So let's go back to this now. I mean, this, see, like even AI is saying this, guys, that he's created as a narrative scapegoat from the beginning. And so his real role likely under prior federal surveillance, possibly for cyber. See now, I mean, look, we're looking through this with a filter, but like there's no proof of that. I could see, but if I'm going to count the other stuff of AI, I'm going to keep looking through this lens to be fair to this like quote unquote exercise we're doing here. So this says his real role is he was likely under prior federal surveillance, possibly for cyber stalking, psych profiling studies, or as a confidential informant gone rogue. Double agent Brian Koberger. So this makes sense too. He could have been connected to research involving behavior analytics for the FBI. He applied for an internship with them. Yes, we remember. They also got the funding for exactly that. But I tend to lean with this one at the bottom, that he may have been a distraction created to seal up the operation, keeping the public's eyes away from the real mission. All right, now let's look at the local law enforcement. Interesting. Moscow PD is likely cut out of the loop. Is Mama Tata still in here? Is there anybody in here from Moscow? I have like 2 or 3 regulars that live near that area. Because, oh yeah, okay. You're from that area, right? Am I remembering that right? Okay, Sarah says she graduated. She lives in Boise. Okay. Now, I don't know if you heard like the whole Alpha Kenny interview that we had on. He was saying he's never heard of any police corruption. He's never heard of any rugs in that. He's got to be like the only local that thinks like that, right? Yeah, Sarah said wrong. He's heard it. Oh, that's interesting, Petty. One of the officers owns that house. Are you talking about the King Road house? Because I thought we tracked that back to the owners all the way up to when they gifted it to the university. Yeah, this will be on YouTube, everybody, just so you know. I'll upload it after. So here we go. So if Moscow PD is likely cut out of the loop. So, guys, I believe that there was 2 911 calls, and what was released was a second 911 call that they had to put in to the local PD. But the first like 911 call was really because the scene was already pre-flagged, and that's why the FBI was there already. And then you look at the scene getting torn down, contaminated, the timeline's blurred, gag orders slammed down, and all of the those are all hallmarks of the federal extraction or containment. No, Jamie, I'm waiting to watch that till tonight. See ya, Kara or Kara. It does, Chaz, on why it would make sense. Well, Stephanie, they'd be covering up for this confidential informants because there's a giant organization that they're probably an informant with where their lives are at risk, probably a ton of money and other resources and others' lives are at risk, and they're trying to take down illegal activity. Oh, I appreciate that, Drema. So now let's look at the University of Idaho. The school is running programs tied to cyber psych, behavioral science, and military crossover research. We've known that. Humbly, I'll say I believe that this chat and myself broke that when we found out about the funding. So look at even this. And that would make sense. I know this is only talking about the University of Idaho. Washington is the one that was getting the funding, though. So if it was infiltrated by low-level handlers or researchers posing as grad students or professors, like that's where Brian Koberger could come in and be the covered publicly to seal the real operation going on. Yeah, I agree, Karen. I mean, I would even say like Steve in the interview with Drunk Turkey, he brought up, he's like, people think like, he's like, Hollywood's made people go crazy. They're talking about Idaho's getting funding, Washington's getting funding, you know, the feds are in on it. And I'm like, it's really not hard to follow. You can go look it up. It's public money. Prior to the crimes happening, Washington State got money to study exactly what Koberger ended up being. After the tragedy, where the victims went, that school is getting millions of dollars to prevent violent acts of crime from happening on campus. Where did all this money come from? The research arm of the DOJ, being the NIJ. I don't get how that's a conspiracy or how that has anything to do with Hollywood making people go crazy. Ooh, it brought up the grub truck. I saw Mike Wimmer was in here too. So here, if you just joined, I asked AI to point out patterns that we as humans can't pick up on, but as AI, it recognizes crystal clearly. So this says the food truck scene, think drop off point. It is so weird to me how many times, no matter if you've been in my lives, how many times this has come up as a red flag. And how many times that was like what everybody's gut in the beginning told them. Thank you, Sue. And like, this makes so much sense. That feed, it allowed feds to monitor movement in real time, possibly mapping trafficking routes or identifying corrupt campus actors. Like, there could have been an informant in the food truck even. I'm convinced that what happened in Salem with the leader of that organization going down. I mean, you got the president and Pam Bondi talking about how successful this operation was, and they've worked on it for a long, long time. I don't believe that a leader of an organization that big gets taken down in anything less than an operation that's at least 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if it. I mean, there's been so many busts since this case happened. All right, here's its full theory. I mean, this is interesting. All right. Undercover investigation theory. The Idaho 4 unalivings occurred in the middle of a federal WITSEC extraction gone sideways involving organized rug trafficking through university towns using student networks as cover. The house at 1122 King was a known surveillance site, and something triggered a move order that night. Whether it was a hit gone wrong, a botched extraction, or a cleanup op masked as an unaliving, the result was 4 high-profile unalivings used to shut the operation down and reset the public perception. Jeez. Like, if that would have come out about the case right away, I don't think people would be thinking that that's a conspiracy. Like, if the news couldn't tell a lie for 24 hours and they had to run this story for all 24 hours and it started with that, I don't think many people would be shocked. Well, Ash, that's what they're saying. I don't think they were actually unalive. They were put into witness protection. The feds can legally stage a violent event if it means keeping an operation ongoing. Yeah, yep, you're good. That's insane. Look, there's no footage of the bodies. People will say, well, the death certificates in Idaho are sealed for 50 years. Well, then you start looking into, like, why is that? Well, Idaho, Montana, that whole area is also a huge WITSEC relocation hub. And you're not going to have WITSECs randomly placed throughout the United States. You're going to have them in hubs because you need to create like a Fed perimeter to make sure that people stay safe. And I would guess that there's probably never just going to be one other person in WITSEC near you. Where there's probably one person in WITSEC, there's probably others, so that they can be monitored more easily with the resources that they have. Guys, on a high-profile case like this, there's no leaked photos. There's no autopsies. Everybody has a price with cases that are this high-profile. A coroner, somebody on the inside. The media will pay you to get that. You don't think the media wouldn't pay big time to have an inside scoop for this? The media actually tried to file against the gag orders to allow them in. Even the media networks got shut down. No, you shouldn't be frozen. The other thing too is there was a private investigator that said that he got the footage of like the CCTV cameras of the highway the coroner van would have taken to that facility. There was no footage of any coroner vans going on that road. I haven't obviously seen that footage. That guy's like, he's running a business. So, again, I want to be transparent. Well, he was like selling his investigation for like $1,800 to people that wanted it. It's not to say that it's not honest. I mean, if he put a lot of work into it, I can see why someone charges for their work. But that was like in his like little teaser of what's included. Adam, why would they be hidden? Well, if these people are after you because you somehow cooperated in taking down their leader or mess with their money, you'd probably got to be kept safe by the feds because they'll find you otherwise. Wouldn't they have also had to hide their families? I mean, all 4 of the families moved and relocated and sold their house to private buyers in trust within 90 days. I actually have a chart that shows that. I have a whole presentation. If you guys want to see this presentation, that's on the screen right now, I was on Once Upon a Crime Time last night on Tommy Jude's channel. If you go to my TikTok profile, I posted a video with like a little teaser of it. It's up, and I go through all of this. Aliases, sightings. I mean, you got a voice match on Maddie that's 91%, 88% facial recognition. But here's what's interesting. Okay. People talk about following the money. All 4 families showed movement or asset shielding behaviors, which is common in witness extraction or high risk asset concealment. This is not like a pocket watching thing, but what are the odds that the 4 families in this house have enough money where they need to like asset shield just for the hell of it? I mean, you have federal forwarding mailing traces. Everything's placed in a trust. Private buyers, there's no listing history. Why are you all moving within months? So if you guys want to go see my full breakdown, we did a full breakdown. I went through all of these slides. They'll answer all the questions in the chat. I even go as far to ask, like, you know, is Steve working with it? I mean, what father a couple weeks after his daughter was brutally unalived goes on a mainstream tour and uses language like chain of custody, timeline conflicts, investigative integrity? Like, that's not normal civilian talk. That's Fed talk. And then prior to a Supreme Court capital case coming up, he's on shows like Drunk Turkey, Ashley Banfield, and he's just letting everything fly. I feel like he'd be a prosecution's worst nightmare, unless he's supposed to be dropping stuff prior to something huge that's coming out in the courts soon. Oh, I'm glad you just said that, SJR, because also I'm convinced that in this audio you hear Steve. If you have headphones, I'd go grab them.
$11:55 a.m. 42 second, November 13, 2022. I don't know location of your emergency. 被你抓逼了！没打对你们好几声都完。What is the address of the emergency?
Did you guys hear that? No, Steve, no. And then you hear what sounds like his voice say, shit. Also, in the audio, I went back. Now, the captions, the captions kind of suck, okay? But like they only pick up mainly the operator and like the other main voices. They don't get the background voices. It sounds like she says, something's happening in our house and we don't want it to, or something. Okay, listen, like, again, I'm paraphrasing what I think I hear because I haven't been able to make it out. You guys tell me in the chat. Something's happening in our house and we don't want it. Like that. That's what I thought I heard.
11:55 a.m. 42 second, November 13, 2022. I don't know location of your emergency. 被你抓逼了！没打对你们好几声都完。What is the address of the emergency?
Something's happening at our location and we don't want it. That's, I don't know. That's what I hear.
11:55 a.m. 42 second, November 13, 2022. I don't know location of your emergency. 被你抓逼了！没打对你们好几声都完。What is the address of the emergency?
Right, but again, it's interesting how they're saying that somebody was passed out, and yet they have to go inside. They have to say, okay, we got to go check. Is he passed out? You then clearly hear someone say, Xana, Ethan, but it never changes for more than one patient, and you don't hear any sirens coming in the background. I don't think that, like, I feel like there'd be an ambulance siren at the least if maybe the cops weren't lighting them up. The ambulance would be hauling ass there if there's an unconscious student.
11:55 a.m. 42 second, November 13, 2022. I don't know location of your emergency. 被你抓逼了！没打对你们好几声都完。What is the address of the emergency? What is the rest of the address? Road. Okay. And is that a house or an apartment? It's a house. Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right? I'll talk to you guys. She was the white store next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification. The address 1122.
What does she even say right there?
And is that a house or an apartment? It's a house. Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right? I'll talk to you guys. She was the white store next to them. I need someone to
She
repeat
was
the address.
what next to them? She lives in the White House next to them. Okay.
Next to them. I need someone to repeat the address. And is that a house or an apartment?
Oh, we live right next door to them.
Can you repeat the address to
Good
make
catch,
sure that I
Emma.
have it right? I'll talk to you guys. She was the white store next to them. I need someone to repeat the address for verification. The address 1122 King Road. And what's the phone number that you're calling from? So 3731.
I've always wondered what that meant. What does 43731 East mean? It's not an address near the house.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from? So 3731.
Yeah, what does that mean? Mike, do you know? The only thing that I can think of is that, like, was that the dispatcher or was that the neighbor? Because I could see, like, you know how on dispatches, like if it's a cop car number or like an ID associated with like a badge number, like 4371 heading east. I don't know. No, they say east at the end. They cut out the phone number. Coordinates on a street. Okay. No, because they say east.
So tell me exactly what's going on. One of the roommates is passed out, and she was drunk last night. And don't wake me up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah, you just
That right there. I've said this before, where she goes, "Oh, and they saw someone in their house last night." Okay, when you say "oh," that's like, to me, it sounds like she's on the phone and someone's like, and she goes, "Oh, and they saw somebody in their house last night." Like, make sure you say that, because the way that I would equate it is like if you're giving like a presentation and you forget to say something for work, but you make eye contact with one of your colleagues and they're like, and you say, "Oh, and," that's what it sounds like to me.
or one of the roommates is passed out, and she was drunk last night. And don't wake me up. Okay. Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah, you just
They cut out words right
are you
there.
with the patient? Okay.
They cut out words right there because you hear it's just that, and it goes mute
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah, you just
right there.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop touching it around. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What is going on currently?
I've also said too, I believe that the 911 operator is navigating this call to make sure they only talk about what's currently going on. Because if she says, "Can I just tell you what happened last night?" wouldn't that be valuable information for paramedics that are arriving on scene? Like, was there rugs involved? How much did they have to drink? What would lead to the passing out of the roommate? You already know a roommate's passed out. She doesn't say that there's help on the way until 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah, you just And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop touching it around. Can I just tell you what happened pretty much? What is going on currently? Is someone tapped out right now? I don't really know, but pretty much beforehand. Okay, so I need to know what's going on right now if someone is tapped out. Can you find that out? Yeah, I'll come on, but we gotta go check. No, we have to.
Hey there.
What's up, Mike?
How are you?
Good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm every time I hear this, I further think that it's complete BS. Like
Yeah.
what? I mean, they led us to believe that Dylan was asleep. Then she had woke up 3 times and said, "Everyone, shut up." Then she drunkenly saw a masked intruder. Now we have the text messages. Oh, my first question is, and I don't mean to deride
No,
anything.
no, you're good, bro.
Are we 100% sure that this call is legit? Or like meaning the it's from the courts, or did Drunk Turkey and those guys make it up?
No, this was the audio that was released to everybody. This was not from any other creator. This was like just from like mainstream. People had it, and I did all these filters myself on screen. So
Yeah,
you see,
no,
yep.
I trust your integrity, but I was worried just for a second. I thought, I wonder if someone created this from the documents. And
Oh,
Drunk Turkey and AR Hayes, or whatever the other guy's name is, they somehow had it early.
well, that's true. I remember when they had it early, and like, look, I mean, guys, Mike brings up a good point. Who the hell knows what's been released to the public in general? Like, it's a good reminder that we're dissecting. Now, like, again, you guys know me. I'm super transparent about where did I get this, what did I do to it, all that. But to Mike's point, like, if it's bullshit from the beginning, well,
Yeah.
like, so it's not a bad argument to be made.
Yeah, it's almost like we need a factual verification channel on YouTube that just goes at the validity of things. And then, because we could say that about anything, statements in the court record, statements from the police to the press, everything seems like a big lie. So,
I think that YouTube channel would be a great idea. I actually pitched this idea. When I say like a business idea, chat, I want you guys to vote like one if you think this is a good idea. Mike, you give your thoughts too. You know how there's so many cases that are probably in like they don't get the high profile nature of like the media and people talking about it online. But if there was just a fraction more of some sort of attention given to a case, it probably could have gotten either police off their ass. It could have had another suspect come into the picture. I thought about creating a group where we actually choose like live ongoing local cases and we commit to that. And like, it's like we talk with the family members, not like on live, but like we have a communication system set up where they give us the stuff to dig into, whether they don't have the funds or the means to do that. But I think that would be something where it's like, oh, you guys are internet detectives. Like, no, we're actually trying to help people who maybe don't have the funds, or their case didn't get the attention that it deserved because of X, Y, or Z.
yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, if that woman from Las Vegas who's on TikTok can chase down some guy who hurt some cats, we certainly can do it for somebody that's hurt some humans.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's like you're tangibly helping people, and everybody's interested in it. And I mean, I just think there's a lot of closure out there that with just a little bit more eyes on it could happen.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I wonder, is everything that the police said dishonest, but as a strategy because they were trying to catch?
I think that. I 100% could see that.
Because would you care if you're allowed to mislead the public a little bit to fluff everything up and get everyone talking, and then you got criticized? You'd be like, I don't care. We're
right.
trying to. Yeah.
100%, and that's where like the fine line is drawn with like kind of like the NSA and the CIA. It's like there's a gentleman's agreement, a handshake agreement about, yeah, we don't care if you use this shit to catch real bad guys. Just don't do it on us. You know what I'm saying? We don't care if you're going to lie to actually catch a bad guy, but don't lie to us about everything. You know what I mean? Like, where is that fine line?
Yeah. Well, I was watching. Well, I think it's been since the 1960s that police have been allowed to tell lies right to criminals.
Oh, yep.
But now it's kind of gone a little too far. But at the same time, if I was a cop, I would be like, Shut up! It's none of your business. I mean, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I get it. I agree. I agree. I want to play one last point. That I'm going to play this and I'm going to pause it because I swear you hear Ethan, Xana, they've been pew-pewed. Okay. And Mike, I think you were on there last time, but it was like I was on StreamYard, not TikTok, so it was kind of hectic. But let's listen to that. Even right there, you hear, is she passed out? Well, I don't get that. You just called for it.
Yeah, and she's like in denial and half acting, half stupid. I mean, it's just weird.
Xana, Ethan, you just heard it.
Now, that isn't that Hunter in the background, or who is saying that?
Somebody said it sounds like a woman's voice, like Christy.
Oh wow!
Right? I mean, I'll play that again. That voice, right? The one that said Xana, Ethan.
That is that the same woman that was on the phone, the neighbor, Emily.
See, that could have been. It could be. You guys think that's a guy's voice? Okay. Let's listen to it again. But when the eyes pop up, I put eyes down here, the emojis, like the two eyes looking. When it's about to happen, where they say Ethan's in, and then it's like a whisper. It's like they've been. Right there. Doesn't that sound like it?
Yeah, it does. You know, I was saying this yesterday or the day before. I think we need to clear up those background voices in a more technical effort to hear them more clearly. I mean, I know the technology's there. I just don't know how to do it. There's a couple guys floating around that can turn down one voice and turn up another.
I see Outcast doing it a lot with audio stuff. So if anybody knows Outcast, tell him he's more than welcome to clip this audio and take it. I'll play that one more time. I want to know too, Mike, what like that demon sounding Batman voice is, where it's like, you know, like every time. I don't get that.
You can hear that at the Linda Lane footage too. And 2 years ago, there were people naming that from a song.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Old rock and roll song from the 80s where they call it's like the secret unmoved mover.
Yeah, so this one doesn't have the ASMR filter on it. This one's just got noise reduction, enhanced voice, high resolution, and I used music enhancement because it takes the pitch up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
See, the other thing too, let's say they were on aren't they talking to her like they're trying to wake her up? Like Xana, like, so that makes me think that this happened earlier too. Because if you walked in and you saw them completely lifeless, I don't, I guess I've never, fortunately, I've never been in that position. Does that make sense? Like, you kind of hear them, like, it almost is like they're kind of like shaking, like Xana.
Yeah, and it seems fraudulent. It's just like, we all know with that kind of number of wounds, there'd be no way you'd be thinking somebody was passed out or
I would almost guess if it's as bad as it is, you wouldn't be standing around there. I feel like you'd be like, nobody's going in there, call the police, which again, that's what they said Hunter had said, but clearly there's already other people in the house.
Yeah. I was wondering that Are you sure that the name is Steve? I was wondering if the name might sound like Steve, like it's.
Well, I don't know. I think too. It just kind of sounds like his tone when he goes shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like again, it's not to say that I'm right or that you're not right. I'll play this out, and I'm gonna do my best to not stop it. The rest of it, I'll sit on my hands.
Okay. One moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Wait, did you guys pick up on that? I know I said I'd let it play. You heard a cop's walkie-talkie in the background.
Yes.
The cops are there.
That's what I thought too. They're already there, and it's just a minute later when she goes, "You have a defibrillator?" That yes, the police were here.
Yeah, you can hear the walkie-talkie clear as day. Right there. You just heard Jesus Christ. Whoa. And then I just heard like Jesus Christ, and I thought I heard she's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, and how old is she? She's 20. 20, you said? Yes, she does 20 as well. Hello? Hello? Okay, I need someone to stop tossing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Hey, sorry, they didn't give me the phone.
Is she breathing? Hello? Is she breathing?
What the hell is going on?
No.
Okay.
That's like they.
That's me.
Did you? That seems to me like a first responder or somebody telling. All right, I see. You can't see the word, but what goes inside of a pew pew through the cranium. That's what I thought I just heard.
Me too. And plus, it's like Dylan is so duplicitous. I mean, she's just like
word. Yes.
She's like trying to say it's a drunken pass out, and even the operator's confused, but it's not that at all. I mean, it's like total mayhem going on beyond them. Like, I mean, there's an old expression: if you're confused, you're being lied to.
Yeah, and man, I wish Phoenix could talk about like there was a firearms expert, or there was some sort of expert with this that was going to be called.
Oh yeah, I read that too. He's a red stuff splatter and firearms expert. So like, why do you have all that if it's just
exactly? So I'll again listen closely. It's like you almost hear like again. I can't say the word, but it's what goes inside of a magazine that gets loaded into a pew pew, and it sounds like it's like that word through the cranium. Like they're almost like looking at the body. And that's a great point, Chris. Why aren't they talking about Ethan? Like, oh my God, there's actually another person. And then it's like, oh, wait, there's 2 more upstairs. No, none of that.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop tossing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Hey, sorry, they didn't give me the phone.
Is she breathing? Hello? Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
That's me. Alright. Lauren, you didn't actually talk to them, say. I can't talk to them, it's begging you to talk.
Hello? Okay.
Also, did you notice he says, he's begging me for you to talk to him. I can't talk to him. And then hands the phone back, but it's a girl that's on the phone. So that's again what makes me feel like, is there 2 different audios layered?
Okay.
That's me. Lauren, you didn't talk to them, say. I can't talk to him. They need you to talk to him.
Hello. Okay. I have already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. Say that again? Yes. I have the police here right now. Okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. You need to look at me. You don't have it. I said yes. So do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one. So are you talking to the officer? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna let you go since she's there with.
Again, guys, they waited 8 hours to call. Like, a defibrillator's not going to do anything if this was done the way that they said it was. I'm not trying to be morbid here. You can't shock someone back to life when there's no red stuff left in them. Right? Like, what are you asking for a defibrillator for? Again, either this was done way earlier and again, if the cop that in the video we watched 5 hours earlier crosses the Linda Lane dumpster footage. But even then, 5 hours earlier, that takes you to, the sun's up, right? Like, what would that, well, I guess maybe not. That's like, what, 6:30 about? So, then it's still 2.5 hours before a defibrillator would be on somebody. I don't know. I'm sure it is likely protocol, right? But again, there's also, look, chat, great hour and 15-minute live here. I am going out with my wife right now to celebrate my birthday, so we're gonna go have a day downtown.
Birthday, bro.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. So I wanted to get on here, get back to the TikTok fam.
Thanks so much for all your work, man. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you. I will. Thanks, Mike. Same to you, brother. I always like when you pop up here. So thank you to the chat for the happy birthday wishes. Send me some good luck wishes too. We're gonna go test our luck at the casino with a couple $100. So I hope that turns into it just makes the day better. Not that I have to forget that it happened.
When you win, leave and go spend the money and have fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's our plan. All right, guys, you guys rock. I will be back on tomorrow at some point. So I hope everybody has a great Saturday. Enjoy the day, everybody. Cheers. Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.